This is Vincent Price welcoming you home. For the land of Greece we are visiting is the homeland of our Western civilization itself. This royal guardsman in our first picture may look strange to us in his traditional kilt and white stockings, but his ancestors gave us poetry, logic, art, philosophy, theater, mathematics, history. Most of the civilized values we enjoy today were shaped by the Greek mind and the Greek spirit well over 2,000 years ago. With a heritage like that, no wonder this Evzon stands so tall and proud as he guards the royal palace in Athens. The ghosts of the glorious past are all around him. Plato and Socrates once may have strolled by this very spot, discussing philosophy or indulging the Athenian passion for political argument. Ancient Athens was the cradle of democracy, and Greece is a constitutional monarchy today. Our second picture takes us to the center of modern Athens, Constitution Square. The title is imposing, but the mood is relaxed as Athenian citizens take the sun in an outdoor cafe, practicing that most highly developed of Greek arts, the art of living. The palm tree reminds us that we are in a land warmed by the Mediterranean sun. The dazzling white building in the background is a great luxury hotel. What a wonderful experience it is to wake up in the morning, step out on your terrace, and view the unforgettable sight shown in our third picture. Here is the high heart of Athens, the ancient ruins of the Acropolis, softened by time, radiant in the sunlight. In the 5th century BC, the Athenians defeated the invading forces of the Persian Empire. They believed that their patron goddess Athena had helped them achieve this victory, and so to honor her name, they crowned the Acropolis with beautiful temples and monuments, which we see in number 4. Every 4 years, a great procession would climb along the sacred way, bringing sacrifices and a new robe to adorn the statue of the goddess on the Acropolis. They would pass through the monumental entrance at the far left, called the Propylaea. Beyond it lay, as shown in our next picture, the Parthenon. This temple to Athena has become what is probably the most famous building in the world. Even as crumbling ruins, its stately columns, its softly glowing marble tones, give us a matchless feeling of graceful harmony, of quietness and slow time. The goddess Athena is worshipped no more, but as long as beauty is worshipped, pilgrims like those in the center of our picture will continue to climb the sacred way and stand in wonder before the Parthenon. In picture 6, we have descended the hill of the Acropolis and stand looking across a field strewn with rubble, overgrown with weeds. This was once the Agora, the center of Athens, a sort of main street and courthouse square rolled into one. The long pillared building running across the picture is the reconstruction of an ancient shopping center called a stoa. Here in the Agora is where Athenians met to buy and sell, to vote, to gossip, to argue philosophy or religion. Socrates and Diogenes were well known here, and St. Paul preached Christianity to the crowds in the Agora 1900 years ago. Reconstructing the golden age of Greece is a job for archaeologists, such as the one we meet in number 7. They put together bits of pottery and other household objects which reveal much of the daily life of those who used them. Other archaeologists dig up buried treasure, the remains of buildings, great works of art. All these bits and pieces recreate the mosaic of an incredibly rich civilization. Picture 8 shows us that the spirit of classic Greece lives on today. We have all seen many modern public buildings like this, carbon copies of the classic style. No greater tribute can be paid to the genius of the ancient architects. This is the Academy of Science in Athens. It reminds us that Aristotle was the father of scientific thinking. Euclid gave us geometry, and 24 centuries before Einstein, Democritus created an atomic theory. Our debt to Greece is a great one. This modern academy is built of the same flawless marble as the Parthenon. If you will turn the slide card over now to number 9, we will visit the place it came from, Mount Pentelicon. As pure as the driven snow, a phrase that aptly describes the marble quarried from Mount Pentelicon. Since 570 BC, Greeks have been chipping away at the mountain, cutting out blocks, hauling them to Athens 11 miles away, and transforming them into marble statues, monuments, and buildings of unsurpassed beauty. During Athens' heyday, its ships dominated Greece. In number 10, we are at the Piraeus, the great seaport of Athens, built in the 5th century BC by the Athenian general Themistocles. Today it is a city of 500,000 people, and as you can see, it carries on the seafaring tradition. But the brief days of Athens' might are long over, and these sailing vessels, called kaiques, are used for purely commercial purposes. Some of them may have been built by the man we see at work in number 11. The wooden boat taking shape here is probably not very different from those that saved Greece during the Persian invasion 2,400 years ago. The little Greek navy tricked the much larger Persian fleet into entering the narrow waters of the Bay of Salamis, which we see in the background. The Greek ships were able to outspeed and outmaneuver their larger and clumsier foes, and so won the victory. Had Persia won, the whole course of Western civilization might have been changed. And now we pass in our next picture from memories of pagan days to the Christian legacy of Greece. There were many Greek converts among the early Christian martyrs. Now peace and serenity rule as bearded monks enjoy the warmth of a quiet courtyard in the lovely Byzantine monastery and church at Daphne. A temple to Apollo once stood in its place, but sun worship has given way to the teachings of Jesus. Picture 13 shows us the astonishing elaborateness of Byzantine art. The interiors of early churches and monasteries were decorated with richly colored paintings of saints and angels and prophets, often surrounded by gold and gleaming jewels set into the walls. In the days when few people could read, these churches were like gorgeous picture books to instruct and inspire the faithful. And now our next picture takes us out into the misty light of early morning. Some of the richest harvests in Greece are reaped from the water, not the rocky land. Fishermen range the coastal waters and bays for mackerel and sardines, dragging their nets as these men are doing. Others, descended from warriors who fought in the Trojan War, dive for the fine silky sponges that bring a high price in the world market. One of the most famous waterways in Greece, as shown in number 15, is a man-made canal. This canal was actually begun when Greece was part of the Roman Empire 1,900 years ago. The Emperor Nero used a golden spade to start the work and 6,000 slaves to continue it. The canal was to cut through the narrow strip of land that separated the Bay of Salamis from the Gulf of Corinth, a wealthy ancient seaport. However, Nero's work was abandoned, and the canal as you see it here was not completed until 1893. Traveling this maritime shortcut to the Gulf of Corinth, we come in picture 16 to one of the tiny villages that dot the coastline. The young fisherman demonstrates that children the world over are fascinated by trains. Greece is an extremely hilly country, and train tracks often run close to the water's edge where the land is level.